Okay, so these are the absolute value problems that we had today in our Cypher so that you can check your work tonight to make sure you have them correct. So on this one, since our absolute value is completely alone, the first thing we do is break it down into positive and negative. So we have x plus 3 equals 3 and x plus 3 equals negative 3. All right, from there we need to get x by itself, so we subtract 3 from both sides. And we get x equals 0. We subtract 3 from both sides, and we get x equals negative 6. So if you have these two numbers on your number line, you're going to put an x beside them. And I'm pausing so that you can check your work and go back and fix it. All right, next we're going to do B. So our absolute value is not completely alone in this one. So we need to add 5 to both sides. And we get 4 times the absolute value of 6x minus 33 equals 12. Now it's still not alone. We have to get rid of this 4 out front. And it's 4 times the absolute value. You can't distribute it because it's bars. You only distribute when it's parentheses. So we divide everything by 4.
Sorry, I didn't realize it.
Okay, so we divided both sides by 4, and now we have the absolute value of 6x minus 33 equals 3. So you break this down into your plus and minus. And notice that I'm dropping my absolute value bars. I'm not continuing with them down as I work out the problem here, because we can't solve it with absolute value bars around it. So I add 33 to both sides. And then I divide by 6, and I get x equals 6 over here. Now on this side, I add 33. And we get 6x equals 30 because it's negative 3 plus 33. And notice I didn't change the sign in here. I only changed the sign of my answer. So from there, we divide by 6, and we get x equals 5. So if you have a 6 or a 5, you need to please put a B beside those. And I'll give you a minute to do that. All right, the next problem I'm going to do is E, so find your E problem. All right, the absolute value is completely by itself, so we break it down into positives and negatives. And we have 3x plus 12 equals 9. I did not change my sign here, and it's a positive 9. And 3x plus 12 equals negative 9. Again, you don't change the sign of what's in the house. You only change the sign of the answer. The positive and negative means a positive answer and a negative answer. So now we subtract 12 from both sides. And we get 3x equals negative 3. So x is going to equal negative 1 because we divide both sides by 3. Over here, I'm subtracting 12. And I get 3x equals negative 21 because negative 9 minus 12 is negative 21. You divide by 3 and you get x equals negative 7. So where you see the negative 1 and the negative 7, please go back and fill in an E on there. I'll give you a minute to correct. All right, next I'm going to do V, as in potato. All right, the absolute value is by itself, so we're going to do our positive and negative answers. X minus 3.5 equals 6.5, and x minus 3.5 equals negative 6.5. All right, so if we add 3.5 to both sides here, and notice we're doing the same steps every time, guys, the same steps, because it's just an absolute value problem and we're still using our solving equation skills. So 6.5 plus 3.5 gives us 10. And if we add here, we're going to get negative 3. Now, we don't have a 10 on our number line, so we don't number it 10, we just leave it. We have a -3, so where you see your -3, you're going to put your V. All right, earlier I went ahead and worked out K, so if you want to see K, here it is. I got excited and worked it out before remembering to record. So we have a +8 and a -8. That means our answer is 7 and -9. So we don't have a -9 on our number line. So all we're going to do is put a K on +7. All right, so now we're on to M. Now we have our positive and our negative side, and we have 18 plus 4x equals 2. And 18 plus 4x equals -2. Now this one's a little different because our constant is out front, but we still move it the same way we normally would. It's a +18, so we know that the opposite of positive is negative. We subtract 18 from both sides. And so we get 4x equals -16 because 2 minus 18 is -16. We divide by 4 and x equals -4. Over here, we subtract both sides by 18. And we have 4x equals -20. We divide both sides by -4. I'm sorry, by +4, because that's a 4 right there, not a negative there. And -20 divided by 4 gives us -5. So where you have a -4 and a -5, you're going to put an M. So I'll give you time to check your number line and make sure you have that. And to correct your problem. Next on the exciting agenda is L, as in lotato. All right, so our absolute value is not alone, so we need to move this -6. We're going to add 6 to both sides. And we have the absolute value of 4x minus 22 equals 10. Now we're going to break it down because it is alone into 4x minus 22 equals +10, and 4x minus 22 equals -10. We would add 22 to both sides here, and we get 4x equals 32. We would divide by 4, and x would equal 8. Now, we don't have 8 on our number line, so we don't worry about that one. Now, let's go over here to the right. We're going to add 22 to both sides, and -10 plus 22 gives us 4x equals -12. From there, we divide both sides by 4, and x equals -3. We do have a -3 on our number line, so we're going to fill in L beside -3. And remember, guys, anytime you need to stop the video so that you can see what's going on the screen, pause it so that you can make sure you're on the same track as me. All right, I is an iotato. Again, our absolute value is not alone, so we don't divide first. We have to get rid of this 5. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. And that gives us 6 times the absolute value of 3 minus 2x equals 6. From there, our absolute value is still not alone. We can't distribute this because it's not parentheses. So we divide both sides by 6. Now, our absolute value is completely alone. Each time we do absolute value, we have a positive and a negative answer. So we have a positive and a negative. We have 3, and remember, these are absolute value signs, not a 13, they're not a 1. So it's 3 minus 2x equals 1, and 3 minus 2x equals -1. Now, this problem is now exactly like M, where we had our constant first. So we need to subtract 3 from both sides. That gives us -2x equals -2. We divide both sides by -2 because we bring down the negative that's here. We keep this minus down. So x equals 1. Now we're going to go over here to the right. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. -1 minus 3 gives us a -4. Divide both sides by -2, and x equals +2. So where you have 1 and 2, you're going to go and put an I on your number line. And I'll pause so that you can do that. And the last problem that I'm going to put up here for us to do together, for you to look at, it's our last of our 9, is one with a fraction. Now, we're not afraid of fractions because we know they're just division and we know that they are our friends. So the first thing we have to do is we got to get rid of this -10 because that's a -8 and we know that's not possible in absolute value. So we're going to add 10 to both sides. And we have that 2 divided by 7, 2/7, times the absolute value of -x minus 3 equals 2. So now we have a positive, so we're good. We've got to get rid of the fraction, so we're going to flip it. We're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. That kills it over there. And we're left with the absolute value of -x minus 3 equals 2 goes into 2 once. 1 times 7 is 7. Change it into our positive and our negative answers. So we get -x minus 3 equals 7 and -x minus 3 equals -7. Here we would add 3 to both sides. And I'm keeping my negative on my x. And then I'm dividing by -1 because we have to get x completely alone, and that gives us -10. He's not on our number line, so we don't worry about him. Over here, we're going to add 3 to both sides. And we get -x equals -4. Then we're going to divide by -1. And x equals 4. So now we're going to go to 4 on our number line and we're going to fill that in with t. I'm going to post the cipher as well so that you have all of your numbers that you need, or letters rather, that you need. And I will explain to you how you do the cipher once I post it. I'll put all that in words on Google Classroom for you. If you need to rewatch the video, rewatch it. Make sure you study this, guys, because we're going to have a test on it soon. Have a good day.